Nathan Hayes stared out of the observation deck on Titan Station, his eyes fixed on the swirling orange clouds of Saturn in the distance. He felt a mix of anger and frustration deep in his chest. For centuries, humanity had been treated like prisoners in their own solar system, locked away by the Galactic Council. The Council claimed humans were too dangerous, too unpredictable to join the interstellar community. But Nathan knew better. It wasn't humanity's nature that scared them. It was their potential. Behind him, Rachel Monroe entered the room quietly. She carried a data tablet under her arm, its screen glowing faintly in the dim light. Her face was calm but determined. "Nathan," she said softly, "we need to talk." He turned to face her, his expression softening at the sight of his wife. "Is it ready?" he asked. Rachel nodded. "The scans are complete. It's definitely alien tech, something we've never seen before. If we can figure out how it works, it could change everything." Nathan exhaled slowly, running a hand through his short brown hair. This was what they had been waiting for. Years ago, when the Council banned humanity from exploring beyond their solar system, they left behind strict rules. No advanced technology, no contact with other species, and no attempts to leave their designated zone. But Nathan and Rachel refused to accept those limits. They believed humanity deserved more than exile. The artifact they had found was buried deep beneath Europa's icy crust. During a routine mining operation, one of their drills uncovered a strange object made of an unknown metal. Its surface shimmered faintly, as if alive, and it emitted low-frequency vibrations that no one could explain. At first, they thought it was just another piece of space junk, but when they brought it back to Titan Station and began analyzing it, they realized it was far more significant. "It's some kind of engine," Rachel continued, tapping the tablet to bring up schematics, or at least part of one. "If we can replicate its design, we might be able to build ships capable of faster-than-light travel. We'd finally have a way to escape this prison." Nathan's mind raced with possibilities. Faster-than-light travel would mean freedom, not just for him and Rachel, but for all of humanity. With such technology, they could explore new worlds, find allies among other oppressed species, and maybe even challenge the Council itself. But he also knew the risks. If the Council discovered what they were doing, there would be consequences. Severe ones. "We'll need help," Nathan said after a moment. "Someone who understands physics better than either of us." Rachel smiled faintly. "I already reached out to Daniel Carter. He's agreed to come aboard." Daniel was a brilliant physicist who had worked on several classified projects before disappearing into obscurity. Nathan trusted him, but bringing him into this secret mission added another layer of danger. Still, they didn't have a choice. Without Daniel's expertise, deciphering the alien tech would take years, if they succeeded at all. As the days passed, the trio worked tirelessly in the lab. The artifact resisted every attempt to unlock its secrets, frustrating them at every turn. But slowly, progress began to show. Patterns emerged in the data, hints of how the device manipulated energy fields to bend spacetime. Each breakthrough filled Nathan with hope, but also fear. What if someone found out? What if the Council sent envoys to investigate? One evening, as Nathan sat alone in the lab studying the artifact, he heard footsteps approaching. Looking up, he saw Marcus Klein standing in the doorway. Marcus was a wealthy corporate magnate known for his ruthless tactics and endless greed. His presence here could only mean trouble. "Nathan," Marcus said with a cold smile, "I hear you've stumbled upon something extraordinary." Nathan's heart sank. Somehow, word had gotten out. And now, everything they had worked for was in jeopardy. Marcus Klein stepped further into the lab, his polished boots clicking against the metal floor. His sharp suit seemed out of place in the cluttered room, filled with tools, wires, and glowing screens. He glanced at the alien artifact sitting on the workbench, its surface shimmering faintly as if it were alive. A sleek grin spread across his face. "So, this is it?" Marcus asked, gesturing toward the device. "The thing everyone's whispering about." the key to faster-than-light travel. Nathan clenched his fists but kept his voice steady. I don't know what you're talking about. This is just a research project. Marcus chuckled, clearly amused. Come now, Nathan. Don't insult my intelligence. I have eyes and ears everywhere. You think I wouldn't hear about something like this? Humanity's golden ticket to freedom. And you're keeping it all to yourself. Rachel appeared in the doorway behind Marcus, her expression tense. She had been listening from the hallway, trying to gauge how much he knew. Now she stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. What do you want, Marcus? He turned to look at her, his smile widening. What do I want? Simple. I want a piece of the action. Imagine what we could achieve together. Humanity finally breaking free from the Council's chains. With my resources and your little invention, we'd be unstoppable. There's no we, Nathan snapped. This isn't about profit or power. It's about giving humanity a chance to survive. Marcus's smile faded, replaced by a cold glare. You really don't get it, do you? Survival means nothing without control. If you won't cooperate willingly, I'll take what I need by force. Before either Nathan or Rachel could respond, the sound of heavy footsteps echoed down the corridor outside. Moments later, a group of armed mercenaries entered the lab, their weapons trained on the couple. Marcus crossed his arms, looking smug. Consider this a friendly takeover. Hand over the artifact, or things will get messy. Rachel exchanged a quick glance with Nathan. They had planned for this possibility, though neither had expected it to happen so soon. Beneath the workbench, hidden from view, was an emergency button connected to the station's security system. Pressing it would trigger alarms and lock down the area, buying them time to escape. Fine, Nathan said after a pause, raising his hand slightly. You win. Take it. As Marcus gestured for one of his men to retrieve the artifact, Rachel subtly leaned against the edge of the table, pressing the hidden button. Instantly, red lights began flashing, and loud sirens blared through the station. The mercenaries hesitated, startled by the sudden chaos. Now, Nathan shouted. In the confusion, Nathan grabbed a nearby wrench and swung it at the nearest mercenary, knocking him off balance. Rachel darted toward the exit, shouting for Daniel, who was working in an adjacent room. Together, the three of them sprinted down the corridor, dodging blasts from energy weapons as they fled. Behind them, Marcus barked orders to his men. After them. Don't let them escape. The chase led them through narrow maintenance tunnels and past rows of humming machinery. Despite the danger, Nathan felt a flicker of hope. They had prepared for moments like this. Hidden compartments in the station held emergency supplies and escape pods, ready to deploy at a moment's notice. Reaching the secure hatch, Rachel quickly typed in the access code. The door slid open, revealing the small shuttle bay. Inside waited the Eclipse Asterisk, a prototype ship designed for long-range exploration. It wasn't fully tested, but it was their only chance. Get in, Daniel urged, already climbing aboard. As Nathan followed, he paused to look back at the station. For years, Titan Station had been their home, a sanctuary where dreams of freedom took shape. Now, it was lost. But as painful as that thought was, he reminded himself why they were doing this. Freedom came at a cost. Sealing the hatch behind them, Nathan took his seat at the controls. The engines roared to life, and the Eclipse Asterisk shot forward, leaving Titan Station and Marcus Klein far behind. For now, they were safe. But Nathan knew the fight was far from over. The artifact was still incomplete, its secrets only partially unlocked. And somewhere out there, the Galactic Council was watching, waiting to crush any threat to their dominance. Yet despite the odds, Nathan felt a spark of determination burning inside him. Humanity's journey was just beginning, and nothing would stop them now. The Eclipse Asterisk drifted silently through the vast emptiness of space, its engines humming softly as it sped toward an uncharted star system. Inside the cramped cockpit, Rachel sat at the controls, her fingers moving quickly over the console. Nathan and Daniel were huddled behind her, poring over data from the artifact. The tension in the air was thick, but there was also a sense of purpose. They had escaped Marcus Klein and his mercenaries. But they weren't safe yet. Every second counted. "We need to figure this out," Daniel said, his voice tight with urgency. "If we can't get the artifact working, all of this will have been for nothing." Rachel glanced back at him briefly before returning her focus to navigating the ship. "We'll figure it out," she said firmly. "We don't have a choice." Nathan leaned closer to the glowing screen displaying the alien schematics. The patterns were complex, almost like a language written in math and light. He could feel frustration bubbling inside him, but he forced himself to stay calm. "It's some kind of energy matrix," he muttered. "If we can replicate it, maybe we can activate the device." Daniel nodded, scribbling notes on a tablet. "But how? We don't even know what powers it. It's not electricity, that's for sure." As they worked, the ship's sensors suddenly beeped, interrupting their thoughts. Rachel frowned and tapped a few buttons. "We're approaching the coordinates where we found the artifact," she said. "There might be more pieces down there, something that could help us understand how it works." Without hesitation, Nathan stood up. "Then we go down and look." The trio prepared for the descent, suiting up in protective gear designed for Europa's harsh environment. The icy moon loomed ahead, its surface gleaming faintly under Jupiter's distant glow. As they landed, the cold seeped into the shuttle, making the air inside feel brittle. Stepping onto the frozen terrain, Nathan couldn't help but marvel at the desolation. It was beautiful in its own way, but also lonely, a reminder of just how far humanity had fallen. They returned to the site where the artifact had been buried, using scanning equipment to search for anything unusual. After hours of digging through layers of ice, Daniel spotted something, a faint glimmer beneath the surface. "Over here," he called, excitement breaking through his usually reserved demeanor. Working together, they uncovered another piece of alien technology. This one was smaller, shaped like a disc covered in intricate carvings. When they brought it back to the shuttle and placed it near the original artifact, both devices began to glow brighter, resonating with each other. This changes everything," Rachel whispered, her eyes wide with awe. "They're connected somehow." Back aboard the Eclipse Asterisk, they experimented with the two pieces, trying different combinations until finally, the artifact emitted a low hum. A holographic display flickered to life, showing strange symbols and diagrams. It wasn't fully operational, but it was a breakthrough. "We're close," Nathan said, his voice filled with determination. "Closer than anyone's ever been." But their moment of triumph was short-lived. The ship's alarms blared, startling them. On the monitor, a fleet of ships appeared on the edge of the system, ships bearing the insignia of the Galactic Council. "They followed us," Daniel said, panic rising in his voice. Rachel gripped the controls tightly, her jaw set. "Not yet. We still have time." She turned to Nathan, her expression resolute. "Whatever happens next, we stick to the plan. Humanity depends on it." Nathan nodded, feeling the weight of their mission settle heavily on his shoulders. They had come so far, risked so much. Now, with the Council closing in, they would need every ounce of courage and ingenuity to survive. The Eclipse Asterisk shuddered as Rachel pushed the engines to their limit, trying to outrun the Council's fleet. The ships were faster and more advanced, but the Eclipse Asterisk had one advantage. Its small size made it harder to track. Still, Rachel knew they couldn't keep running forever. Sooner or later, the Council would catch up. "We need a plan," Nathan said, his voice steady despite the tension in the air. He was seated at the navigation console, studying the holographic map projected above it. "If we jump into hyperspace now, they'll just follow us." Daniel nodded, his face pale but determined. "And if we don't jump soon, they'll destroy us before we even get the chance." Rachel clenched her teeth, her hands gripping the controls tightly. She glanced at the artifact sitting on the table behind them. Its faint glow seemed almost mocking, as though it knew they were running out of options. "We use the artifact," she said finally. "It's our only shot." Nathan turned to look at her, his brow furrowed. "Are you sure? We barely understand how it works. If we mess this up, we're dead either way," Rachel interrupted, her tone sharp. "At least this way, we have a chance." Daniel hesitated, then moved to examine the alien device. "I think I can rig it to interface with the ship's systems," he said after a moment. "But it's risky. If the energy output is too high, it could tear the Eclipse apart." "Do it," Nathan said without hesitation. "We've come too far to give up now." As Daniel worked, connecting wires and adjusting settings, Rachel focused on keeping the ship steady. The council vessels were closing in fast, their weapons charging for another attack. A blast rocked the Eclipse, sending sparks flying from the control panel. Rachel gritted her teeth and held on tight, fighting to keep the ship on course. "Almost done," Daniel shouted over the noise. Sweat dripped down his forehead as he made the final adjustments. "Get ready." Nathan strapped himself into the co-pilot's seat, gripping the armrests tightly. "Rachel, prepare for the jump." Rachel took a deep breath, her heart pounding in her chest. She activated the ship's thrusters, pushing the Eclipse to its maximum speed. Just as the council ships fired again, Daniel flipped the switch. For a brief moment, everything went silent. Then, a blinding flash of light filled the cockpit, and the ship lurched violently. The artifact let out a deafening hum, its energy surging through the Eclipse's systems. Stars outside the viewport stretched into long streaks of light as the ship entered a strange, otherworldly dimension. When the light faded, the trio found themselves in an unfamiliar star system. The Council's fleet was nowhere to be seen. For the first time in hours, they allowed themselves to breathe. "Did it work?" Nathan asked, his voice trembling slightly. Daniel checked the readings on his tablet. "It worked. We're somewhere else, far away from where we started." Rachel leaned back in her seat, exhaustion washing over her. "Good. Now we find out what this place is." As they scanned the area, the sensors picked up signs of life. A planet orbiting a nearby star showed traces of advanced technology. It wasn't human, but it was proof that intelligent beings had once lived there. The discovery reignited their hope. "This changes everything," Nathan said, staring at the data. "If we can find allies here, species who've been mistreated by the Council like us, we might stand a real chance." Rachel nodded, her eyes shining with determination. "Then let's not waste any time." The Eclipse descended through the atmosphere of the alien planet, its hull glowing faintly as it braved the friction of entry. Below them stretched a vast landscape of towering metal structures half buried in sand and vines. It was clear that this world had once been home to a thriving civilization, but now it lay silent, reclaimed by nature. Rachel guided the ship carefully, searching for a safe place to land. As they touched down on a flat stretch of ground near one of the ruined towers, Nathan couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The air outside was thick with an eerie stillness, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves in the wind. "Stay alert," he said, grabbing a scanner from the storage compartment. "We don't know what, or who, is out here." Daniel nodded, adjusting the straps of his backpack. "Let's focus on finding anything useful. Technology, data, anything that can help us understand who built this place." Rachel led the way, her blaster holstered but within easy reach. She scanned the area as they moved, noting strange symbols etched into the walls of the ruins. They looked similar to the markings on the artifact they had brought with them. "This might be connected," she said, running her fingers over one of the carvings. "Whoever lived here could have used the same kind of tech." After hours of searching, they stumbled upon something extraordinary, a massive chamber hidden beneath the surface. The entrance was concealed behind a collapsed doorway, which Daniel managed to pry open using tools from his pack. Inside, rows of inactive machines lined the walls, their surfaces covered in dust. At the center of the room stood a pedestal holding another piece of alien technology, glowing faintly like the artifact aboard the Eclipse asterisk. "This is it," Nathan said, his voice filled with awe. Another piece of the puzzle. They carefully removed the device and carried it back to the ship. Once aboard, Daniel began working to integrate it with the original artifact. As he connected the two, the devices emitted a low hum, and a holographic map appeared above the table. It showed star systems, trade routes, and notes written in an unfamiliar script. "It's some kind of database," Daniel explained, excitement creeping into his voice. "If we can decode it, we might learn about other species, and maybe even allies who faced the Council before." While Daniel worked on deciphering the information, Rachel focused on repairing the Eclipse. Their escape from the Council fleet had taken a toll on the ship's systems, and she knew they wouldn't survive another encounter without making improvements. Using parts scavenged from the ruins, she upgraded the engines and reinforced the shields. Meanwhile, Nathan reached out to distant human colonies scattered across the edges of known space. He sent encrypted messages explaining their mission and asking for support. To his surprise, responses began pouring in. Some came from miners living on asteroids, others from farmers eking out a living on barren moons. All shared one thing in common: resentment toward the Galactic Council. Among those who answered was Emily Dawson, a leader among a group of rebels fighting against corporate exploitation. Her message was short but powerful. "Tell me where you are. We're ready to fight." Encouraged by the growing network of supporters, Rachel and Nathan decided to take the next step. They traveled to meet these groups in person, bringing the artifact with them as proof of their progress. Each visit strengthened their resolve and expanded their resources. Slowly but surely, humanity began to unite under a single banner: the human dominion. "We're not just surviving anymore," Rachel said during one of their meetings. "We're building something bigger, something stronger." Emily smiled, her sharp eyes gleaming with determination. "Then let's show the Council what happens when you try to hold humanity down." With new allies and improved technology, the seeds of rebellion were sown. The Council had underestimated humanity, and soon they would pay the price. The human dominion was growing, but Rachel knew they couldn't face the Galactic Council alone. They needed more than just human support. They needed allies among other species who had suffered under the Council's rule. With this in mind, she and Nathan sent envoys to nearby star systems, hoping to find civilizations willing to join their cause. One of these envoys was Lucas Bennett, a calm and resourceful man with a knack for persuasion. He traveled aboard a small scout ship, accompanied by a team of engineers and linguists. Their mission was simple: make contact with alien species and propose an alliance against the Council. The first stop was Zarnis Prime, the homeworld of the Zarni, a proud warrior race known for their unmatched combat skills. When Lucas arrived, he found the Zarni living in harsh conditions. Decades ago, the Council had stripped them of their advanced technology, leaving them to fend for themselves on a barren planet. Despite their struggles, the Zarni remained fiercely independent, refusing to bow to anyone. Lucas approached their leader, a grizzled veteran named Cal Torvok, with respect and humility. "We know what it's like to be cast aside," Lucas began, standing before Cal in the dimly lit council chamber. "The Council sees us as threats, not equals. But together, we can change that." Cal studied him carefully, his golden eyes narrowing. "Why should we trust you? Humans have done nothing for us." Lucas nodded, understanding the skepticism. "You're right. Until now, humanity hasn't been strong enough to help anyone. But things are different now. We've uncovered ancient technology that could level the playing field, and we're offering to share it with you." After much deliberation, Cal agreed to an alliance. In exchange for access to the Dominion's technology, the Zarni pledged their military might to the fight against the Council. It was a turning point for the rebellion, proving that unity was possible even among vastly different species. Back at the heart of the Dominion, Grace Miller worked tirelessly to secure another kind of alliance. Unlike Lucas, Grace was a diplomat skilled in negotiation rather than warfare. She traveled to peaceful worlds seeking refuge from the Council's tyranny, offering trade agreements and protection in return for resources and intelligence. One such world belonged to the Valens, a gentle species known for their healing abilities. Their leaders were hesitant at first, fearing retaliation from the Council if they joined the uprising. But Grace showed them evidence of the Council's corruption, records stolen from abandoned databases detailing how the Valens had been betrayed during a past conflict. "This isn't about revenge," Grace told them softly. "It's about survival, for all of us. If we don't stand together, the Council will keep doing this to every species they deem inconvenient." Moved by her words, the Valens agreed to provide medical aid and supplies to the Dominion's forces. Though they wouldn't fight directly, their contribution would prove invaluable in the battles to come. As alliances grew, so did the Dominion's strength. Factories once used for mining or farming were repurposed to build warships equipped with weapons derived from alien tech. Engineers worked around the clock, while soldiers trained relentlessly. Among them was Emily Dawson, whose fiery speeches inspired troops to believe in victory. "You've seen what the Council has done to us," she told a group of recruits one evening. "They think we're weak. That we'll stay quiet and do as we're told. But we're proving them wrong. Every ship we build, every weapon we create, it's a message to the Council. Humanity won't be held down anymore." With each passing day, the Dominion became more organized, more powerful. Word of their rise spread across the galaxy, sparking fear within the Council's ranks. For centuries, they had ruled unchallenged. But now, cracks were beginning to show. Rachel watched it all unfold from the bridge of the Asterisk eclipse, her heart swelling with pride. Humanity wasn't fighting alone anymore. Together with their allies, they were building something greater than themselves. And though the road ahead was uncertain, she knew one thing for sure. The age of oppression was coming to an end. The Galactic Council was not idle. News of the human Dominion's growing power reached them quickly, sparking outrage among its leaders. Admiral Voreth, a cold and calculating Krylos commander, was tasked with crushing the rebellion before it could spread further. Known for his ruthless tactics and unyielding loyalty to the Council, Voreth wasted no time assembling a massive fleet. His orders were clear: annihilate the Dominion and send a message to all who dared oppose the Council. Voreth's plan was simple but effective. He would strike at the Dominion supply lines, cutting off their resources and leaving them vulnerable. His first target was a convoy of freighters carrying vital materials from a distant mining colony. The ships were lightly armed, relying on their speed and numbers to stay safe, but they never stood a chance against Voreth's advanced warships. As the convoy entered a quiet stretch of space near the edge of human territory, alarms blared as Council vessels emerged from hyperspace. Energy beams tore through the darkness, crippling several freighters in moments. Panic spread among the crew as escape pods launched, but many didn't make it out in time. Rachel watched the attack unfold from the Asterisk eclipse, her face pale with anger. The Council had struck without warning, showing no mercy. "They're testing us," she said quietly, her voice trembling with fury. "Seeing how far they can push before we break." Nathan clenched his fists, staring at the reports flooding in. "We can't let them get away with this. If we don't respond, they'll think we're weak." Rachel nodded sharply. "Then we hit back. Hard." Using intelligence gathered from their allies, Rachel devised a daring counterattack. She knew where Voreth's fleet would regroup after the ambush, a remote asteroid field used as a staging ground. It was heavily defended, but Rachel had an idea. Instead of sending their entire fleet, she proposed using decoy ships to lure Voreth into a trap. The plan required precision and timing. Emily Dawson volunteered to lead the decoys, commanding a squadron of older, less advanced ships. Her mission was to draw Voreth's forces away from the asteroid field, creating an opening for the main Dominion fleet to strike. "Are you sure about this?" Nathan asked Rachel as they prepared for the operation. "If anything goes wrong." "It has to work," Rachel interrupted firmly. "We've come too far to back down now." The battle began as planned. Emily's decoys engaged Voreth's fleet, feigning retreat as they led the enemy deeper into open space. Meanwhile, Rachel commanded the main fleet, slipping past the distracted council ships and heading straight for the asteroid field. The Dominion's engineers had outfitted their ships with upgraded weapons powered by the alien artifact, giving them an edge in firepower. When Voreth realized he'd been tricked, it was too late. The Dominion fleet ambushed his supply base, destroying critical infrastructure and capturing valuable data. For the first time, the Council suffered a significant loss, one that shook their confidence. But the victory came at a cost. During the chaos, Grace Miller confronted Voreth aboard his flagship. Using her diplomatic skills, she tried to negotiate a ceasefire, hoping to end the bloodshed. When negotiations failed, she found herself face to face with the Admiral in a tense standoff. Though outnumbered, Grace managed to disable key systems on the ship, buying precious time for the Dominion to escape. As the dust settled, Rachel addressed her crew, her expression resolute. "This was just the beginning. The Council knows we're a threat now, and they'll stop at nothing to destroy us. But we've shown them something too. Humanity doesn't back down." The Dominion had proven its strength, but the fight was far from over. With every victory came new challenges, and new enemies determined to crush their uprising. Yet despite the odds, hope burned brighter than ever. Together, humanity and its allies were ready to take the next step toward freedom. After the ambush at the asteroid field, the Dominion's forces regrouped aboard the Asterisk Eclipse. Asterisk, though they had dealt a significant blow to Admiral Voreth's fleet, the victory left them with more questions than answers. During the battle, Daniel and his team managed to recover data from the Council's supply base, encrypted files detailing secret operations and classified information. As they began decoding the files, disturbing truths came to light. "It's worse than we thought," Daniel said, his voice low as he stared at the screen. Nathan and Rachel gathered around him, their expressions tense. "The Council didn't banish humanity just because of our aggression. They were afraid of something else, something inside us." Rachel frowned. "What do you mean?" Daniel hesitated before responding. "They've known for centuries that humans possess latent psychic abilities. Not everyone has them, but some do. These abilities could disrupt the Council's telepathic networks, the very systems they use to control other species." Nathan leaned back, processing the revelation. "So they didn't exile us because we're dangerous. They did it because they're scared of what we might become." "Exactly," Daniel confirmed. "And there's more. The Council itself isn't united. Some members want to keep humanity isolated forever, but others are starting to question whether exiling us was the right decision." Rachel crossed her arms, her mind racing. "If that's true, then maybe not all of the Council is our enemy. Maybe some of them would actually support us, if we can prove we're not a threat." Nathan shook his head, skeptical. "Even if some of them are sympathetic, most still see us as a problem to be eliminated. We can't count on their help." "But we can use this," Rachel insisted, her tone sharp. "If we expose the Council's hypocrisy, if we show the galaxy how they manipulate and control others, we might turn their own people against them." The idea was risky, but it made sense. Over the next few days, the Dominion worked tirelessly to spread the truth. Grace Miller took the lead, using her diplomatic skills to reach out to neutral worlds and disillusioned Council members. She shared the decoded files through secure channels, ensuring the information reached those who mattered most. Meanwhile, Lucas Bennett continued building alliances with alien species, emphasizing the Council's corruption. His efforts paid off when the Czarny offered additional warriors and ships to bolster the Dominion's forces. Cal Torvak, their leader, stood alongside Rachel during a broadcast meant for the entire galaxy. For too long, the Council has ruled through fear and lies, Kale declared, his deep voice resonating across countless screens. But now, humanity and its allies will stand together. We fight not for conquest, but for freedom, for all species. The message sparked outrage among many oppressed civilizations. Protests erupted on planets under Council control, while rebel factions within the Council itself began pushing for reform. Even Admiral Voreth faced pressure from his superiors, who questioned whether his tactics were making matters worse. Back aboard the Eclipse, Emily Dawson trained new recruits, preparing them for the battles ahead. Her fiery speeches inspired hope, even in the darkest moments. "They think they can break us," she told a group of soldiers one evening. "But every time they try, we grow stronger. Together, we'll take back what's ours." As tensions escalated, Rachel knew the final confrontation was near. The Council wouldn't tolerate rebellion indefinitely. They would strike back with everything they had. But for the first time, humanity wasn't alone. With allies by their side and the truth on their lips, they were ready to face whatever came next. "We've shown them we're not afraid," Rachel said to Nathan late one night, standing on the observation deck as stars streaked past. "Now it's time to show them we're unstoppable." The final battle took place at Elysium, the heart of the Galactic Council's power. It was a massive world encased in shimmering energy shields, surrounded by fleets of warships and orbital defense platforms. The Council had called every available vessel to protect their capital, knowing that losing Elysium meant losing everything. Rachel stood on the bridge of the Eclipse, her eyes fixed on the tactical display, showing the enemy forces arrayed against them. "This is it," she said softly, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "No turning back." Nathan nodded, his hands gripping the console tightly. "We've trained for this. We've fought for this. Now we finish it." The Dominion fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the system, flanked by Zarni warships and smaller squadrons from allied species. Together, they formed a formidable armada, a patchwork of vessels united by a single purpose: freedom. Rachel gave the order to advance, and the fleet surged forward, breaking through the first wave of Council defenses. Admiral Voreth led the counterattack, commanding his flagship with cold precision. Energy beams lashed out, tearing through Dominion ships as explosions lit up the void. But the rebels were relentless. Pilots dodged fire with skill honed through months of combat, while engineers worked miracles to keep damaged ships in the fight. Every loss fueled their determination to press on. Grace Miller coordinated cyberattacks from the Eclipse, targeting the Council's communication networks. Her efforts paid off when key systems began failing, disrupting the Council's ability to coordinate their forces. "Their shields are weakening," she shouted over the comms. "Hit them now." Emily Dawson led ground forces alongside Zarni warriors, storming Council-controlled stations scattered throughout the system. Their mission was to disable orbital weapons and clear a path for the main assault on Elysium itself. Street by street, they fought their way closer to the Council chambers, facing fierce resistance, but never faltering. Amidst the chaos, Grace confronted Voreth aboard his flagship during a daring boarding operation. Armed with little more than her wits and a stolen blaster, she navigated the ship's corridors, avoiding patrols until she reached the command center. There, she found the Admiral standing before a holographic map, barking orders to his crew. "You're too late," Voreth sneered as Grace stepped into view. "Your rebellion will fail." Grace didn't respond. Instead, she fired a precise shot, disabling the controls for the flagship's primary weapon. Alarms blared as the ship's systems went haywire, forcing Voreth to divert his attention. Seizing the opportunity, Grace activated an EMP device hidden in her pack, knocking out power across the vessel. Back in orbit, Rachel directed the final push toward Elysium. With the Council's defenses crumbling, the Dominion fleet breached the planet's atmosphere. Ships descended onto the surface, deploying troops near the council chambers. Explosions rocked the city as battles raged in the streets below. As the dust settled, Rachel, Nathan, and their allies gathered outside the council building. Inside, the remaining council members scrambled to evacuate, abandoning centuries of rule in mere moments. Humanity and its allies had won, not just the battle, but the war. "We did it," Nathan said, his voice filled with awe. "Against all odds, we did it." Rachel looked at him, then at the others who had fought beside them. "This isn't the end," she said firmly. "It's the beginning." For the first time in centuries, humanity stood tall, no longer exiles, but leaders in a new era of galactic history. The council chambers were in ruins, their once gleaming halls now scared by smoke and debris. Rachel stood at the center of the room, flanked by Nathan, Emily, and representatives from every species that had joined the fight. The air was heavy with tension, but also with hope. For centuries, the Galactic Council had ruled through fear and oppression. Now, its power was broken, and humanity had risen to take its place among the stars. Rachel stepped forward, her voice calm but firm as she addressed the gathered delegates. "For too long, the Council told us we were dangerous. They said we couldn't be trusted. But today, we've proven them wrong. Today, we've shown that unity, not domination, is the true path to peace." Her words echoed through the chamber, met with nods of agreement from the crowd. Kal Torvak, the Zarni leader, raised his fist in a gesture of solidarity. "Together, we've ended their tyranny," he rumbled. "Now let's build something better." Grace Miller spoke next, her tone measured but passionate. "This victory isn't just for humanity. It's for every species that has ever been silenced, exploited, or cast aside. We have a chance to create a new order, one where no one is left behind." As the meeting continued, plans began to take shape. The Dominion would serve as the foundation for a new galactic alliance, an organization built on cooperation rather than control. Each species would have a voice, and decisions would be made collectively. It wouldn't be easy. Old wounds ran deep, and rebuilding trust would take time. But it was a start. Outside the council chambers, celebrations erupted across Elysium. Soldiers embraced one another, tears streaming down their faces as they realized the war was finally over. In the streets below, crowds cheered as news of the victory spread. Flags bearing the emblem of the human dominion fluttered in the wind alongside symbols of allied species, a testament to what they had achieved together. Nathan wandered through the wreckage of the council building, his thoughts heavy despite the joy around him. He paused near a shattered window, gazing out at the city below. Rachel found him moments later, placing a hand on his shoulder. "What's on your mind?" she asked gently. He sighed, shaking his head. "It's just, how many lives were lost along the way? How much pain did we cause to get here?" Rachel nodded, understanding his feelings all too well. "We can't change the past," she said quietly. "But we can honor those who sacrificed everything by making sure their deaths weren't in vain. This new alliance, it's their legacy." Nathan looked at her, a faint smile breaking through his somber expression. "You're right. We owe it to them to make this work." In the days that followed, the Dominion worked tirelessly to establish the framework for the new alliance. Factories once used to build weapons were repurposed to construct homes and schools for displaced populations. Medical teams led by the Valens traveled to war-torn regions, offering aid to those in need. Slowly but surely, the galaxy began to heal. Rachel delivered a historic speech before an assembly of delegates, her voice ringing out with conviction. "Today marks the dawn of a new era, an era of freedom, equality, and cooperation. No longer will any species stand alone against oppression. Together, we are stronger. Together, we are unstoppable." As stars twinkled above, humanity's empire stretched across the cosmos, forever changing the course of history. Challenges lay ahead, but the spirit of unity burned brightly within them. They had faced the impossible, and triumphed. And so, under the banner of the human dominion, a fractured galaxy found its way toward peace.